GAWD, but my rent would probably double, you know, and it'd be this really bad place to live.
So you would have to make twice as many comics.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know if that would even matter, but I'd have to do something.
Yeah. We're trapped upstairs by the same.
Trapped is not the right word. I'm so glad to be
Yeah.
here. I'm not happy,
Yeah,
but I'm glad.
New York's an okay place to be trapped, though, right?
Yeah.
But it's for rent. Rent is.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that these guys are upstairs. Like
That's great.
Like, not even if we don't speak for weeks. But we do, but even if we don't, like, just knowing you're there, like, it just eases, like, when I leave the apartment, I'm like, what if it burns down while I'm gone? Like,
Yeah, I've only been back to Seattle once in the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years even. But when I did go back, the air, when I got out of the, when I went into town from the airport, I was just, the air is so different. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right, it's filled with things that you actually need. The depression.
There's a weird, sinister, elemental thing in the land there, too.
It is true. Yeah, it is sort of strange. It's hard to explain, but I know what you mean.
It's very hard to explain it. It's like dead Indians or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I think so. There's something like a burial ground.
Yeah.
I wonder if it also has something to do with the West Coast. Like, that's like the last stop. Like, all the settlers will just
if
keep
you
going
can't make it
farther
there,
and
you can't make it anywhere.
Dead. If you can't hang out there in that mild weather, you're
something
in
wrong
trubs.
with you.
You're in trubs.
If you can't make it anywhere else, you might make it there.
You can't keep going. You can't keep.
You got to put something together at the end of the line.
Yeah, you got it. This is this is your final.
Yeah.
Final countdown.
Yeah.
Is that a metal song?
It's Europe.
Yeah, Europe.
Yeah. Is it metal? Pop metal?
That's when we were like afraid of nuclear war.
Yes.
Now we're afraid of
It's weird
robots.
how much I'm not really afraid of nuclear war anymore. Now I'm just afraid of like permanent loss of all human souls everywhere.
Like automaton, like
I don't know.
soul extraction.
like Left Behind.
No,
like,
not soul extraction.
souls
Just like like
I
just the internet turning every single person on Earth into a weird sociopath.
It does feel like that's
Do you
happening.
think that people of our generation are more soulful?
I don't know.
Are you Gen X, Mark?
I don't know.
What's that?
Are you Generation X?
Well, 71.
Yeah.
Gen X?
Yeah. I'm 70.
Yeah.
69.
Well, I think it's an interesting blip because we've been on either side of the internet, right?
Yeah.
That's a real blip. Like not a lot of. I mean, I think about it like artists. It's an interesting place to be an artist of some kind because you're making art before and after. I know it's kind of a funny blip. Like how long did industrialization take? Like that took a long time.
Yeah.
Whereas the internet took like 10 years to sort of congeal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We should get an old person on the show and ask about like a really old person. What about when they're
Get Mark Allen Stamade.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You should get him.
He's here, right?
Yeah.
He's in Jersey.
Oh, totally. He'd be into it.
He's really nice too.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm thinking like, what about when phones
Get him and Roz Chast.
Are they much older? I would think that.
Well,
he's like
Mark is 78.
Oh, he's 78.
I think so.
I guess I thought Roz was in her 70s, but maybe I'm wrong.
Roz is in maybe 60s. She's so much more youthful.
She's youthful.
She's very like playful and bouncy.
Yeah.
I want her to be on. I've been too shy.
Are you friends with her?
We've met, we've hung out, but not like close.
Karen and her have related because they both have parrots.
Yeah, she and I were we were corresponding about dreaming and lucid dreaming and stuff, and then that kind of.
Yeah, she was really nice to me. She did she edited that. I saw it there. Not trying to.
Yeah.
Is that the new one?
No. I don't know. I don't think it exists anymore, right?
No, it doesn't.
They're not doing it anymore?
No, this is like 2016.
Like Sweeney's or who was
So she was the editor.
Yeah, I wanted to ask her to be on the show, and then I saw her on Instagram with like Joe Biden.
What do you think about our new president? He's good?
Oh.
What do you think of America?
Oh my gosh, it's a crazy. That's a. Big,
America is really truly growing into itself.
Yeah.
In the way that a toenail grows in.
Yeah.
That's a nice analogy.
Yeah.
We're just curling in, just
Becoming
crippling
more,
ourselves.
more wicked and more crone.
Mutated.
It's just funny because, you know, we were kids when Reagan was elected. I was 10 and my parents hadn't put me up to feeling this way. I mean, they were Democrats, but I instinctively felt terrified when he was elected.
Wow.
Really?
Because I had learned what nuclear weapons were, maybe a year prior from the day after or one of those. But now I'm frightened in a way I've never been in my life.
Yeah, I was joking around last summer with my friend. We're always joking about. My friend John, we're always joking around about stuff, and we were talking about annexation. I was like, well, I think the U.S. probably wants to annex Canada, and now it's a huge topic with huge.
If they did try, I mean, if we did try to take over Canada as an imperialist power, would you resist?
Oh, I would just probably try to leave. I would want to get the hell out. I'd be like one of those people escaping Ukraine. I'd be like, North America's over. This is insane. The tariff idea is pretty crazy.
Yeah, 25% tax on a drawn quarterly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Seriously,
Yes.
but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's for the states too. I mean, I don't think he drew back the Chinese tariffs, right? Because a lot of American publishers rely on publishing in China, right? Printing in China. So
Yes.
Is there anyone in Canada that wants to be a part of the United States? Is that a thing?
Well, one thing. It did galvanize Canada in a way because Quebec is always
they Quebecois.
Yeah, they want to. They've tried to separate a couple times, but then Trump got in, and with his rhetoric, the Quebec
Unified
Canada unified the country, right?
Okay.
So I don't think Albertans. The Albertans are. There's probably a lot of Albertans that would want to be part of the U.S.
Is that
would.
Would.
Is that the Rambo?
It's kind of like the Texas of Canada, or the really right wing hotbed of Canada.
Is that where a lot of the oil comes from?
Yeah, that's where a lot of the oil stuff comes from. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The terrible tar sands, they're this nightmare.
He'd probably be content with just Alberta. That's where the oil is.
Well, and there's so much water. There's so much water and resources.
Yeah.
Why don't they just swap? Take Alberta and you guys can get.
No, someone drew a funny map where they I posted on Instagram. It was a new border where Alberta went to the U.S. and
New England.
Canada joined with what do they call it? Cascadia.
Oh, the western states.
Portland, California.
That makes sense.
Portland, Oregon, and New York, and Minnesota. And New York, and you know what I mean? It made this kind of
So we could redraw. I mean, I think that Trump would be into it because he's into redrawing stuff.
Yes.
Just turbulence.
Yeah, making things different than they were before.
Just tipping. You go to a restaurant and tip over a table to see what will happen.
But he'll just. It seems like he just says things to for effect and to scramble people's brains. Ships can travel. American ships can now travel through Panama for free or whatever. That whole situation?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but they'll just make these bizarre statements that aren't true, and Panama says, well, no, that's not true, about the Panama Canal. That's not true.
Or Ukraine starting the war.
Yeah, exactly. To twist people's... I remember when he first got in the first time I was talking to I heard this this woman talking about Italian fascism and how in Italy... They're still trying to unscramble the language problem that was created with Italian fascism, using language in a really messed up way that kind of creates confusion with the population.
Yeah.
And she was comparing the Trump situation to that about the misuse of language and kind of messing up people's brains.
Yeah.
I mean, it's effective, right?
Yes. No. And then we have a vice president who is into mold bug.
Oh, really?
Yes. J.D. Vance is a big Curtis Yarvin fan.
Whoa.
How do we know this?
We know this. He's talked about him in
So he wants to make a monarchy or something?
Yes.
I think that they do. Okay, that's enough politics talk. What about art?
Yeah, you have to be more specific.
I guess it still matters. That's all I know how to do.
I do think that there's a sort of like back, like all these young artists, they're not into the phones or AI. They're into art on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, especially there's a lot of in New York of that, which is pretty interesting.
That
I
is
think.
nice.
Yeah, like they're
I
very
like hearing that.
like very.
I've seen it.
Yeah, no,
I've
I
seen
think
it.
we're seeing it in New York. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
New York.
about other places. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty prevalent in New York. I
Yeah.
think. I don't know if it's quite as prevalent in other places. I mean, there's pockets everywhere, probably, right? But it seems like there's a lot here, like a joint effort, sort of. Right?
Yeah, and I do think that it happens that there's going to be like a balance, like against the homogenization of art, like actual like authenticity.
When I was a teenager, I started making zines, and then in the '90s there was a bunch of us in Canada it was like an unofficial kind of group, but we made a lot of collaborative zines, and like I don't know, like I have a huge list of collaborative zines I've made with other people, a lot with like my friend Jason McLean, who lives here in New York now, and a lot of different people. And I put together this book called Nagadod, which was a collection.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's like a collection of all this activity. I think it's like I put it together like around 2005, 2006, so it's like about maybe 10 years of activity or something. So I was in Vancouver in the early 2000s. Like, this was happening in the 90s, like we'd make these little books, and others would, we'd play these funny games, we'd give permission to steal from each other, in a way.
Cool.
So people would redraw each other's zines.
Wow.
So like someone would take a zine and redraw it and change things about it and change the title slightly and then republish it, or not republish it, but publish a different version of the zine. So, so there was a lot of that stuff, but they were like very limited quantities.
Were they not made to be sold or?
Well, we would
or
sell,
amongst each other.
We would sell them, but there was so few of them.
Yeah.
It was like peanuts,
Yeah.
Like I think I would send them. I would send some to USS Catastrophe, and then John Porcellino was Spit in a Half. He would distribute my comics, and mainly I would send him the comics. You know what I mean? And but I would probably send him some of these kind of zines. I can't remember if he maybe carried them at some point, and I would send them to Million Year Picnic and different
I
places.
love that place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boston.
So like Joe Grillo would say to me like, I first saw your work at Million Year Picnic, like one of these little weird drawing zines or whatever. So it was just little pockets, like where I'd send like 5 copies or whatever, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing.
And it was just like it was for the fun of it, for the just making art. It was like.
Well, we were doing that last night at Matthew Thurber's.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
We put together like almost a whole comic book.
And how long did that take?
Like 3.
A factory type.
Well, that was the idea. I mean, we didn't.
It was really a great feel.
It was
so
fun.
Cool.
It was super fun. I mean, initially we were talking about it. We didn't have time because Matthew's busy with ASO and I'm whatever being like lazy or whatever. But we were gonna try to come up with like a cast of characters, like a basic cast of characters, so it might be clearer to everybody what to make a clearer project. Because we talked about that today. We're like, that was super fun. It was like automatic writing being passed around for people to illustrate, like in any which way they want to. It was pretty fun. But then Matthew and I talked about, if we did it again, we could try to make it more structured. It could be interesting.
I was totally lost as to what to do until I saw your panel, and then I was like, I'll just copy Mark.
Yeah, because people just stepped in and were like, they don't know what's going on. Like, they don't know what we're... I mean, it was pretty it was pretty like, it was like Sweatshop, but kind of like surrealistic, absurdist.
But you have like this sort of the training and collaboration. Like, I'm just starting to get into collaboration, and it's great. But it seems like you had like a history, like a background.
Well, we thought we'd try to impose something on it, because sometimes when you get together and you just draw jam comics, they usually end up in this certain kind of
psychedelic or
can be kind of, it feels a little pointless, but depending on who's working, and then sometimes if you have too many cooks. But we thought, it might be good to try to put in this sweatshop structure, which we didn't completely do, but it was interesting to see even just how that went. You know?
Did he turn up the heat and then not give you bathroom breaks and stuff? Was he creating a situation where
I think he
you
was
were sweating?
spoiling us. He was giving us drinks and snacks.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Me and Angela and Katie made a zine together called The Two-Faced Man. And it's basically a damn comic.
Like the idea, we came up with this idea of, what was it, violent beatnik deli. So I was thinking, we could have this deli run by this former beatnik who's really angry and violent. And then I thought, this was just theorizing. I thought, the first story could be the deli's in trouble. And there's this total financial disaster, and then have this philanthropist come in and order, and he loves the deli, loves the beatnik deli, or something. There's something about it he loves, I don't know. And he decides he's going to support it, but he won't just give them money, he just makes these huge orders.
And the foreman is Paul from Shrimpy and Paul.
Okay.
That's what Paul's doing now.
Do a cutaway.
No.
Well, that was...
Does it make
Did you know that was my first time seeing a cutaway?
What's a cutaway?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I was like...
Yeah, what do they call it? Then I learned about this term trompe-l'oeil. Do you know that term?
Yeah, the trick of the eye.
Yeah, trick of the... does it mean like...
I also like showed this 8-year-old girl this book,
Uh-huh.
and then I was just like, I love Shrimpy and Paul, and then like after the 8-year-old girl like brought it back to me, she was like, there was a lot of butts in there.
There's a lot of
butts. There's a lot of nipples.
I know, and then
Is
I
there
realized
butts
like,
in it? There's
yeah,
nipples for sure.
and there's also sex in it too.
Is
Yeah,
there?
I think there is a little bit.
Tasteful sex.
It's
So
sort
is
of
this
like, it's
banned
pretty
from
tame.
American
No,
libraries?
it's pretty tame.
So I was like so embarrassed because I reread it. Like, I hadn't read it for a long time, like before showing it to her, not thinking like, oh, maybe I should like proof this or something
Yeah.
for kids.
It's like a children's book with just a little bit of sex.
Don't feel bad. I once gave a kid a Johnny Ryan book.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Arkham would be worse.
Arkham, I think would be worse.
I kind of grew up on Arkham.
Yeah, we kind of take it as...
Oh, really?
Gabrielle, you're from the West Coast, right?
Yes. Well, I was born in London, but I grew up in California.
Why are our stories so complicated?
I know. Why
Can't we just be like,
come from
born and
Kansas?
raised in Kansas, still in Kansas, a
Because
townie.
That's me.
there was a big.
Oh, you're a New Yorker.
Yeah.
An actual New Yorker. Very rare.
I lived in Vancouver from 2000 to around 2007. I first went to Vancouver in like 94 because my friend, I would visit my friend Jason McLean. We were making collaborative art together. I know him from London, Ontario.
Where you're from?
Yes, where I'm from, and we went to this arts high school, Beale Art, and then I ended up traveling out to Vancouver to see him and work on stuff with him. We did an art show out there called The Waffle, in '94, based around this fake music group we created that we would promote but didn't make music.
The Waffle?
Well, no, they were called the All-Star Schnauzer Band, but our show was called The Waffle, and it had all this correspondence mail that we'd made. Anyway, so I was there.
So did you write all the correspondence?
Well, it was like we kind of loved the visual aesthetic of this band, this Japanese band, the Boredoms.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd make these crazy packages and mail them to each other. And then for the show, it's a very small show. It's in this tiny place called the Gallery Sancerre, tiny little gallery on Hastings Street in Vancouver, and we made what we called a correspondence tapestry. So it was this plastic wall hanging with pouches, and we put some of the decorated envelopes in it. Like we would send like really wacky letters to each other, like where the outsides were all collaged and stuff.
Whoa.
And we made a waffle suitcase, or Jason made a waffle suitcase to put all the mail in, and then we had this cloverleaf highway that Jason had also made this sort of, not exactly paper mache, but taped up paper and newspapers, and you would make objects that way and paint them. And then we had a parade. We had a waffle parade down Hastings. Anyway, that was my. Anyway, I don't know what.
Did the Boredoms do stuff like that? Have their own like weird fan base that would send them letters and strange suitcases and parades and things like that?
Oh no, I mean we just liked the packaging of the albums. It just had really wild collages and interesting art in the packaging, and we were kind of influenced by that aesthetic, amongst other things, like lots of other things too. And then I moved to Vancouver because I would just go out for the summer or whatever. And then I ended up moving to Vancouver because I was going to school in the Maritimes on the East Coast. And then I ended up moving to Vancouver around like 2000. I was there from like 2000 to 2007, and I was very productive there, making all that art that I was showing here in New York, you know. And then that ran its course, and I ended up leaving Vancouver around 2007. And then for some reason I came back in like 2016 because I was in Minneapolis for 6 months and I didn't want to go back to Ontario, so I went back. The owner was very excited to give me this pen.
Oh, nice.
He's like, "Did you get a pen?" And I said, "No."
Whoa,
said,
it's like a James Bond pen.
Yeah, it's like, it has a light.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Now she can't draw.
Isn't that weird? It's got a light.
Yeah.
I'm blind forever.
Wow.
So you're gonna burn a hole in the lens.
Yeah, do that. It's amazing.
Does it show up?
Yeah, it does. It's like,
see, this is from my
It's
local
local.
grocery store as a gift for the customers.
and then you can.
So he said, "Hey, did you get your pen?" I said, "No." And I saw him giving a pen to the previous customer. I said, "No, I did not." And he's like, "Look at this pen."
It's
It's
nice
got-
to go to a grocery where they give you gifts.
Yeah,
They
East
think
West
about
Market,
Yeah.
down the street from my house. When I'm drawing comics, I use a like a Japanese nib, you know, a school pen called the. Do you guys use those?
I just recently got into nibs.
Yeah, do you use the what are the brands? Tachikawa and then I also use repeatographs, which
I
are
use
super annoying, but I love them.
Why are they doing?
Well, they just clog up and
Oh yeah.
They're so annoying for so many they break very easily.
yeah, and they're expensive, and they can just like for absolutely no reason they can just fail or start leaking real ink everywhere.
And they do like a very boring line that's just like has no variation. And yet
I love the line though.
Me too.
It's
And it's good in combination with a like dip, like using like a dip pen with a little variety, and then having the repeatograph complement that. But I mean, it is a dead line, so if you're after a dead line, it's the perfect pen. But if a deadline.
I didn't.
Oh, I'm just calling it that. I don't know the official.
what is the quality of the deadline that we like? Why?
Well, you were saying there's no uniform, or it's a uniform line, right? The repeatograph, there's no variation. So I'm just referring to that as a dead line, but I don't know what.
I think a structure, the same way that I have like 6 panels all square in my page, so that like I can focus on what's inside the comic.
I mean, the 6-panel grid is kind of the greatest grid, isn't it?
I think of it as it's like writing or typing almost.
I tend to use 4 panels because I'm so outrageously verbose. You could also say there's no right or wrong with the panel count, but then a lot of my favorite comics are 6-panel. Like,
I think there's a lot of right and wrong in comics.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one's using panels.
Actually, panels are out.
Are panels out?
Yeah, I barely use panels.
Like I feel lost when I don't use a panel. I'm like, where does reality end?
Well, yeah. So it contains. It's this automatic containment. Alive outside.
Yeah.
Live outside.
From Neoglyphic Media, co-edited by Colin Beckhorn and Marc Bell, and featuring
And
Angela and many other artists,
Looks
young and old.
I like the union of the young and
Living and dying.
living and dying.
Have you ever seen Stephen M. Johnson's work? Who's in there?
He's my biggest fan.
Oh yeah, he must like Bell's. He's a big fan of mine too. That's cool. I could see how he would like your work.
He's on my Patreon and he comments on every single one, and they get more and more. At this point, he just comments, "I think we all know that I'm in love with Gabrielle," which I love. Like, I love Susan King's work.
Oh yeah, so amazing, right?
Yeah, I've been obsessed with it for many years. When I first saw it, I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it, but I didn't love it when I first saw it, and now it's my absolute favorite.
Would you say your experience doing that book live outside was arduous?
Arduous. I don't know if I would call it arduous. I mean, if I think arduous, I think about making my own work and making decisions about my own work is really difficult. Like, I was talking to you earlier about that book, Nagadod, that I put together. I mean, that was a lot of work, but I loved the work because I like organizing and assembling existing things is a lot of fun for me to do. Drawing my own comics and decision making, I find like to be very difficult.
Because you're like, this decision is I'm gonna live with this decision for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I guess so. But then, and just my work is so wacky. Sometimes it's hard to like rationalize what's going on at all. But I like making I like making self-published or comic books because it's like I feel like it can be like a proof for to look at the material in print and then think about how it's going to end up when it's in a real book.
You've already seen it.
I've already seen it on paper. Like always try to look at things on paper first, even before I make the little self-published book or whatever. But I like seeing it like, okay, there's a final version of it. What are my problems with it? Like, so that comics are arduous for me, but when I have a task like that, I find it kind of interesting. So I'm reorganizing it, and then it left gaps, and then I'm making new work to put in the gaps, and there's some like OCD part of my brain that finds that sort of interesting to do. It's in a way, it's like collaborating with myself or using existing material, and then I can try to use the material I've already made and detach from it at the same time and try to make something interesting with what I have. So I didn't explain that. I don't know if I explained that very well.
Yeah.
It's interesting about collaborating with oneself too. Like you kind of like remove yourself from the work, and then a new you kind of takes over and directs it.
Starting a story and having it sort of a ridiculous sort of beginning, and then I sort of have to go from there and sort it out. How to sort it out. I mean, that's probably like do you understand?
I understand, but I don't do that.
Yeah, it's probably smarter not to do that.
No, that sounds great.
Just a different one.
It's like making a mess and then cleaning it up.
That's kind of what I feel like I'm doing, making a mess and then cleaning it up.
You get married to somebody and then you're like, wait a second, this is a total mistake.
Yeah.
It takes a few years.
Yeah, I'm trying to get married to a person.
Yeah. It has nothing. And then
I
you
can
try to
relate.
make it work.
I can actually relate to that. I feel like it's like troubleshooting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of go in blind, you make a mistake, and then you try to like.
And then that becomes the story.
Like I stopped making comics for a long time. Like I stopped from 2005 to like 2012 or something. I barely made any comics, or I'm probably wrong about that, but
you
more like
you see that as a
like I started making art. I started making art, right? Anyway, I had an empty time where I wasn't really making comics. I was just making artwork, cartoony artwork, and then that sort of petered out. And then I had to and then I thought, I guess I'll go back to comics because comics people always accept you, even if you don't like comics. Is amazing that way. You can return. Like I returned,
They're real
and I
people.
wasn't questioned. You know,
It's like you never left.
It's like I never left, but then I got all bent out of shape. I got a small, not a huge grant, but I got a grant from the Canadian government to make Stroppy, to make a book. And actually I applied with a different idea. But then I decided to make this book Stroppy. But that was a real process. I was like, I'm sick of being the guy that makes no sense. So I started reading screenplay books.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You're like the original nonsensical.
Well, someone was saying to me, "Oh, the world's caught up with Marc Bell comics. Like the lines become thinner." it was an outdoor book festival, Toronto Book Fair. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, I was there, and this woman
Not
came.
TCAF?
Not TCAF. No, it's like a more like for the general public. It was in a park, you know. And I was there at the D&Q table, and this woman came up to the table, and she said, "Oh, are you are you Marc Bell?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, so is this the book you made with the grant?" I said, "Yeah." How do you know? She said, "Well, I was on. You're not supposed to say this if you're on a jury for judging other people's work for grants. You're really not supposed to do it." And she said, "I was on the jury for your book. And she said to me, "Can you believe we gave you that grant? Your work is crazy." And that didn't really make me feel that good, but it was also funny. It's a funny story.
I was at a festival. It was a writers' festival in France, and like one of the interview questions that they asked us cartoonists was, "How does it feel to be in the biggest writers' festival in France?" Which is like it's nice until
I've had that happen to me actually with like another cartoonist who like was like, "Would you ever imagine that like you would be hanging out here with us?"
Did I?
And this is when I was younger, so I was just like,
Right.
half of me still had like some imposter syndrome,
Right.
and half of me was just like a person,
Mhm.
and I was just like,
You should apply for the Teal Cartoonist Grant.
the teal.
The Peter Teal.
Oh, there should be.
But you have they have to be slanted in some political.
I have to be advocating for a monarchy.
Yeah, but I think there's less money in the pool now. But I would usually get travel grants, and it's funny because travel grants are decided by the Canada Council, by the people that work there, and the other production grants are juried by your peers. And I would rarely get those, so I thought I got rejected so many times. So I was like, "Whoa, the Canada Council likes me, but my peers do not."
Wow. Do you mainly support yourself doing art or comics or art stuff?
Yeah, like I live pretty cheap. I have a cheap place, remarkably.
Are you a cheapskate? Like you don't tip?
Oh no, I tip. You have to tip.
Do you like?
"Oh, you have to tip in Canada?"
Oh yeah, you have to tip.
I think this is Europe that is built in.
In Asia.
In Asia, yeah.
I think so, Gary.
Just
Have you ever
live
lost
really
weight
cheaply.
because you just didn't want to?
No, I mean I might have lost weight a couple of weeks ago when I had a flu.
Oh wow.
I couldn't eat, or I didn't want to eat.
That's
You had the flu and then you flew.
I had the flu and then I flew. Yeah, had the flu and then I flew.
And would you stuff your pockets at the
Yes.
with croissants at the
Yes.
free buffet?
I'm trying to teach myself not to do that anymore, but yes, I will always like.
You'd sit
Stuff
on
my
you'd
purse
sit
at
on
the
an
buffet.
almond croissant in some fancy place in France, and you're like, oh no.
I try to own it too. I'd be like, yeah, I'm a
I'm a
messy,
struggling artist.
disgusting person.
No, I mean I haven't had a job in like 20 years or something.
Awesome. I used to work at a group home for schizophrenics and to do an overnight there.
You did?
Yeah.
When?
I was
amazing.
in college,
Tony
and then
and
you
I
just have to
know
just
each
stay
other
awake
for-
all night, but you never did. We set up these like traps so that if anybody came in, like little cans that would shake.
Well,
Wake us up.
because the crazies would try to escape.
The crazies were supposed to be asleep, not masturbating, and with their meds.
I heard that they like to masturbate a lot.
And then sometimes they would try to sneak into other people's rooms. They're not supposed to go out. They chain smoke.
Like I was in this apartment. I was like, I am not going to get this apartment, but I might as well tell him what I do.
But you wanted
so I
it.
said to him, I wanted it. Yeah, I was like, because I was kind of stuck, and I said I wanted to move out of this temporary place I was in, which was an okay place, an okay price, but it was time to leave, and I was like, I was in this apartment, and I was like, oh, I would like this apartment, but there's no way I'm going to get this. And then I said, well, I suppose you want to know what I do for a living, I'm a cartoonist. I'm published by Drawn and Quarterly, and he said, oh, do you know this person? And I was like, yeah, and because they were published by D&Q. And he said, oh, I run a gallery here in town, and I represent them. And I said, oh, can I use them as a reference? and he said, sure.
Yeah.
So I got the apartment, and then he said to me,
Oh my god.
and then he said to me, you know, Mark, there's no way in hell I would have given you that apartment if not for that reference. And I was like, oh, thanks for the info.
Yeah. You've always also had good apartment like Gabrielle, right? In New York. It's really hard over here.
Yeah, I feel like I have not been lucky in a lot of ways, but I've been extremely lucky in others. But I've always managed to get like a cheap, big apartment, like beautiful.
Yeah, like if I moved to London, Ontario, my hometown, my rent would double, and that's moving from Vancouver.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like the rents in Canada now are crazy. Yeah. So now I'm stuck.
There is like, I think there is like a sort of like psychological stuckness all over. Like,
yeah, I think everyone's feeling that. Yeah, like, no matter what, right?
Yeah, you gotta just like stick
it
where
out.
you're at.
Angela, you have a good situation too. Right?
Angela also has a cool apartment.
I feel like I have a cool situation. It's not like
it's cheap though.
It's a good location. It's like in the Lower East Side, but it's like the ceiling in the bathroom fell, and like there's roaches. And
but you gotta fix that. Wow. There's like other.
I don't know.
Okay.
My landlord, the sweetest woman, she left me a carton of apple juice when I had my flu a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
So super inflated right now.
Yeah. No, when I lived in Minnesota for 6 months, like that's not a cheap place. So I was having to deal with that constantly in my brain, like be like everything you spend $30, but it's really $45 or $50. Right. Like it's crazy. You're just because it's not cheap there. It's like New York prices probably. They'd still have like punk rock cafes where you could go and get a bottomless cup of coffee.
Oh, nice.
And sit there all day.
And smoke a cigarette in the...
Yeah, and you draw and hang out and drink coffee. So it's like something from another era.
Yeah.
And it was crazy when those riots happened there because like that was the only neighborhood I'd even ever lived in the U.S. and watching it all burn or part of it burn down,
Yeah, Tom's neighborhood was really destroyed.
Yeah, Longfellow. You're there.
It's nice, and the customer service gets them all.
Yeah, you get like the lottery.
You have to speak their language or know how it works, but I don't know how to do so. I was just like,
Tony is he's so good at that.
Me?
You're good at customer service.
He'll do funny voices.
No, I'll be like
Romanian. Turn it into a theater.
Yeah, it's very theatrical.
For your own, I get it.
And I'm also put off. Yelling at somebody in the background that's not there.
Yeah, or he'll bring in fictional grandparents.
Wow.
I become much older.
Do you ever record them?
I don't know if is that legal? They record us.
They do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna record you back.
Yeah, why not? Why not record them? I don't know.
Yeah. I can play confused.
Hello.
Yeah. I don't have my wits about me.
Can you repeat that?
I don't. Do I know you?
Yeah. Who is this?
George?
Is this George?
Is this George? You were playing a joke on me. That'd be good. You're playing a joke on me, George, aren't you?
Do you ever answer the phone when you're in bed?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I? Oh yeah.
It's always like the commissioner.
I'll answer the phone in the bath, and I'll feel bad if they can hear me splashing around.
They can.
You're taking a bath with your phone.
Yeah, they totally can. Depends who it is.
Always in the bathroom, there's going to be an echo. And
the echo.
In the bathtub, they're going to hear the splash.
Yeah, they're going to hear it. They're in the bath.
I was once talking to a guy.
They're pissing.
I was once talking to a guy on the phone years ago, back when there was phones, and he was like, "Hey, hang on, I gotta go pee," and then he's on the phone and he starts peeing, and I hear the pee going into the toilet, cool. And I saw it in my head so vividly,
when I'm driving through rest areas, you go to those big McDonald's bathrooms and stuff. There's people still on their phone as they're peeing.
On the phone, calling?
They're still on the call.
Wow.
We have more shame, I think, in some ways. But also, it's an intimate. Those people are probably intimate with the people that they're calling.
Yeah, they're probably
on.
So that trucker talking to his dispatcher.
They're FaceTiming. They're both.
They're going all out FaceTime.
And then they're gonna flip their cameras and show each other their work.
Yeah, check this one out.
Wow. There used to be a time where people would know that the bar or cafe you're at, and John, you got a call. They would put the phone.
I miss those days where
it's like they know you.
And also, like, if you want to see your friend, you know your friend is at this bar.
Yeah.
At this certain time.
It's like that's their third place.
Your friend is getting drunk at this, or your intellectual friend who's at the cafe.
Yeah, it's like he's at O'Connell's probably. I don't know. It's just like I'm gonna go out of the house and I have to spend $30.
And it's also sort of generally alienating. People don't talk to each other.
Mm.
And then, like, you could say, "Hey, let's have coffee," and then you get together for an hour and you're both having coffee, and then it's just weird. Like, it's forced.
What do you mean? Why is it? It's forced because you're at the.
Like, here we are getting coffee. We're catching up. This is an activity that we have scheduled.
So when somebody says,
it depends who it is, though, right?
Yeah.
Some people, it's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If somebody says, "Let's grab a beer" or "Let's have a cup of coffee," that doesn't happen anymore.
Say it again.
If somebody says, "Let's grab a beer,"
and who's the person?
You're
a stranger.
So
you're a
you
friend. No, I see what you're saying. If it's a stranger. Hey, what, me? Yes.
Yeah.
Cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee sometime.
Yeah.
What do you think? With me?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your day? Give me your digits. Where do you like to go? Let's narrow this down over text tonight. We don't know each other.
Okay, so that's not happening.
No.
I would rather do a project something like this with somebody. Like, you want to put that energy.
Yeah, you want to put exactly.
Why do you always have to be doing something?
Because of capitalism and patriarchy.
What were they doing in the Renaissance?
They were creating things.
They were scared for their lives.
Yeah, they were probably scared.
Scared?
They probably were eating terrible food.
That was the Dark Ages.
But their brains weren't all sped up like ours.
How are our brains sped up?
Aren't they? Aren't our brains all sped up?
I think our brains are actually very arrested and slowed down because we're confused and overwhelmed by all the young people, like the kids, they know a lot more because there's so much information they take in.
Phone, I don't think I got a real cell phone.
Like a smartphone.
Like an internet phone, smartphone.
Yeah.
So I would make maps if I was traveling or whatever. So I have this collection of maps. I should do something with these maps because I don't make maps anymore.
What would be a typical map that you would make? Going from Victoria to some other?
Or no, more so if I was going to the States or something, or going to Europe or something like New York, for example. I probably have some maps of New York.
Did the Neanderthals have fire? I don't know.
They got a bad rap.
Yeah,
people think they're stupid, but they were pretty
dummies.
smart. They got a bad rap. Neanderthals.
I heard that they were actually smarter than the
That's what I'm saying.
Cro-Magnons, but they were not as social. It was actually the exchanging of ideas that made the.
They're like beatniks.
But yeah, they were trading
beatniks.
ideas, and they were able to be more innovative because they were.
They did high foreheads.
For the executive function and the prefrontal cortex, which I'm obsessed with lately.
Speaking of which, Gabrielle, you're having a prefrontal cortex stimulation.
I'm doing transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Whoa, what's that? Please explain for your audience.
So,
I just want to know for a friend.
It's a therapy that's good. That's for treatment-resistant depression. So you do all the meds and they don't work, and you do therapy and it doesn't work. So they send you to do this one, and it shoots electromagnetic. There's a magnetic field into your brain through a helmet, which actually looks like that.
Oh, that's it.
I did it. I knew about it.
And it stimulates your limbic system and your prefrontal cortex, and I don't remember exactly how, but it's supposed to wake up neurons that fall asleep when you're depressed. Wait, I'll find out.
Oh. And how long do you sit with that?
Just 20 minutes a day.
At home or in the clinic?
I go to the clinic every day.
Wait, how did you hear about this?
Dr. Frankenstein.
Every day? When do you go?
I just started. I heard it from our friend Clayton Schiff, who also did it, but it didn't work for him. There's a coil and that is hooked up to your head, and it shoots these magnetic fields into your head, which
Do you feel it?
well, that's the crazy thing because it feels like a jackhammer, like a construction worker is like.
Wow.
Like an
Whoa,
MRI?
God. Can you feel an MRI?
I can't feel it, but it makes a sound.
Yeah, so you feel
Makes
it
a
like it's a
thunder sound.
physical thing, although it isn't physical. But people say it feels like a woodpecker pecking at your head, but for me it feels like a little jackhammer, like that.
Wow.
And
Is it exposure therapy?
it's supposed to stimulate the neurons and make you not depressed. Like your brain gets in the habit of being depressed, and so like certain neurons shut down.
Definitely.
Maybe doing a project about it will help me get out of my depression.
Can you just go and make your own helmet?
If you're a mad scientist, probably, yeah. Everybody liked me, but I felt like everybody hated me that night.
What night?
Last night?
Not last night.
No.
There.
You mean the reading?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like sitting in the back, and I was like, I wanted to see this comics reading, but
I know, and I was thinking to myself, everyone probably thinks I hate them because I get nervous doing those things.
Yeah,
and
I get that.
I can't deal with people.
yeah, I
Like,
get that too.
I can't make little small talk until I get the thing over with.
Yeah, when I'm traveling, I get that too. I'm
Yeah,
like,
traveling too. Yeah.
Performance.
But yeah, I'm always like, everybody either hates me or thinks I hate them, or one form of that or another.
And meanwhile, everyone's just thinking about their own
Yeah,
bullshit.
like they don't care.
They don't care.
Like us, we have to sort of shape. We have to like create a persona. Like we're doing all this stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Aside from just doing the work, we have to like create a persona to do the work.
Yeah, and I'm also like not that good at like doing that, like all those like.
And so then you work extra hard.
Just don't be yourself. Just don't be yourself. That's the rule.
I
For
know.
everybody, just don't be yourself.
Is that how you get
But-
by?
Yeah, I don't
But
think.
I'm like
I'm
so
joking. I don't know.
sensitive when I'm like myself, and
I
they're just
know.
like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm just like, "Lay off, let me be."
I think some people are capable of just like shedding themselves and taking on a different persona.
How was your stay at Angoulême?
It was cool. It was different.
She met Sophie Crum.
Yeah.
Max met Sophie
Oh,
Crumb.
you did.
Yeah, I was in the background.
Did you stay with the Crumbs?
No, I didn't stay with the Crumbs. I'm not really. I feel like myself, I'm not really a good representative.
Yeah, I hate it when people ask me how my trip was. I was like, I just stayed in my hotel all the time.
I represented New York and all of comicdom to the French.
I feel like I hate representing anything.
What are you representing over there? Huh?
Yeah, a lot of comics festivals I'll go and then I'll just end up hiding in my room the whole time. I also will go on a long hike in the wood. Like I'll be
Well, that's
like,
nice.
I'll
Yeah.
take the train to outside of town and I'll hike. Like I did that in.
You and Max left town, right?
Yeah. Well, me and Max like just walked around on the limb a lot.
Is it a nice town? What is it like? Is it?
It's really old.
Yeah.
It's a nice town.
Do they have indoor plumbing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like that. Me and Max had a really hard time in France because we both don't eat gluten.
Oh.
So I feel like we experienced some malnutrition there.
Now it feels
The
impossible.
French are so cruel about it.
Well, though, also, yeah, I don't think I could ever speak good enough French to feel comfortable. I'm like ultra sensitive about these things. I don't even want to.
You're Anglophone. Yeah, you don't.
Or I don't even want to try because their level, like, at some point, I don't know what the timeline is, but at some point you have to go to this government office and give them these stamps. And you have to give them money, like 300 euros or something. You have to show your face, give them some money, and you can't give them cash. You have to buy these stamps from the local tobacco shop or whatever.
I put it, I think.
Listening to a translation of, can I buy I can't remember their name, but can I have these stamps, please?
Yeah.
Trying to learn it, to say it to the counter person.
Right.
You have to,
And
you
I
have to do like homework in order to.
yeah, because
do a
they won't accept
transaction.
cash because they don't want it stolen and whatever. But anyway, I went to this, so I had to take a train to another town, and I was kind of nervous because I didn't know how I'd be treated. But they were like super nice to me, and even the woman was so nice, and she took the stamps, and then she was explaining to me how I could stay in France longer. But meanwhile, I was having trouble being there because I don't speak French, and for various reasons I left like 6 months early.
Is it harder to like move when we get older and stuff?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Like when you're young, there's like a lot of impetus. I'm like, hey, let's go on this hayride that lasts for like 6 months. It's like,
Yeah, like
it's cool.
Like I'm saying,
And then we end up on a boat.
no, I should
that's
probably
interesting.
just hunker down and be like, accept, like this is where I am.
Yeah. At work, I'm so distant. At my job, like, I'm so careful because, like, when you work in, like, a wage-paying job, like, a wage-paying, like, environment, anything, like...
Like the rest of the world does?
Yeah. But I'm very sensitive to it because I'm just, like, they will like, squeeze you for everything you have. And for...
It's like some people, they need to go to a job, and others of us, we are princesses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a princess.
Yeah.
I'm a passenger princess.
I'm
I'm unemployable. You could not employ me. I am not looking for work. Anybody.
I guess Mark, you don't really do auto bio stuff.
Oh, I would do that. Like, for a comics job.
Yeah, just like...
Thurber and I were talking about that, about how back in the day, how they would hire a cartoonist to go somewhere and like capture a moment, and I actually brought you up. I was like, Gabrielle Bell would be good at that, like going somewhere and drawing someone.
Oh,
you know,
thanks for recommending me for this imaginary
yeah,
job.
yeah. But anyway, sorry.
Because she saw my autobio comics and was like, oh, this would be great to do like a scene report, but it doesn't have to be a scene report, it could just be your autobio.
Oh, so that's why you did that strip, the
Yeah.
four pages?
For On the Limb.
The 4 days?
The 4
right.
days. And then like, I realized like, oh, I've never been hired or like been requested to do autobio before. Like it's always been on my own sheer will.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like the most agonizing thing.
Oh, you hated it?
I was just like,
I
is it
can
okay to
understand
say this? Is it okay like that I'm writing this? And I like had to like self-police, like, because I was just like, oh,
I wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah. No.
With even Hemingway, like go to Spain, see what's going on. They would just like write about it. Like that was like whatever they were
Or like
experiencing.
Joan Didion.
Or whatever.
Yeah, and people, the
I
public.
want to hear how you would say it.
Yeah, people
You
would
know,
love it if
just
you
to
did a
make care.
takedown of
That's
the
true.
quaint
That's
town
true,
of
but-
Angoulême.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
this is what I really think.
Yeah, this is what I really think about.
It is. I mean, it's hard
That's
enough
what
when
you
you're
want.
doing it for your
Yeah.
own self, but when like
Yeah.
you feel like somebody is watching, it's very hard to. No, I totally relate because it's like doing autobiographical comics is like something it's like some kind of alchemical process you do inside your own mind, and like
I also just feel like I guess in the back of my mind, I'm just like, the comics journal doesn't got me. They're not my boys.
I think so too.
For me, not speaking on you.
So you're both
I
prima
am.
donnas?
I think so.
I'm a nightmare. The book, but it's sort of, but it's like, it's similar autobio. It's like,
Marc Bell, page 8.
Well,
and it was
showing
shown in
there,
Angoulême, and
yeah,
Angela
that's-
saw it in
yeah.
Angoulême on the wall. I took a picture of it.
Yeah,
Or Max took a
with,
picture
with the newspaper.
With the newspaper.